guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 20, the ATE or ET ending. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your green book open to page 125. You'll also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. You'll notice I already went ahead and marked off our syllable breaks with green vertical lines and our stressed syllables with pink check marks. So if you'd like to pause the video to add those marks on your own paper, feel free to do so. All right, so we have been spending a lot of time talking about derivational suffixes. Those are groups of letters that we add to the end of a word to change its part of speech. So last week we looked at the suffixes ent and ents, and we found out that we can go back and forth between adjectives and nouns by playing around with those endings. So different becomes difference, independent becomes independence, and so on. So this week, we are going to use the ATE, et ending, to change a few nouns to adjectives. But that's only going to happen a couple times this week. Most of our words this week are adjectives without an easy to spot root, because many of them come from Latin. Okay, so I will point out the base words, the root words when I can, but for some of these other words, we're not going to necessarily be able to spot the root. Some of these words have two pronunciations. So the first time we go through, I'm going to read them all using their adjective, their describing word pronunciation. And then I'll go back a little bit later and show you how we can change these same words into verbs by changing how we pronounce that ATE ending. Okay? But let's start by reading our list. Please repeat after me. Adequate, advocate, affectionate, approximate, articulate, associate, compassionate, coordinate, desolate, duplicate, illiterate, immaculate, inanimate, inappropriate, intermediate, intricate, legitimate, moderate, unfortunate, vertebrate. Okay, notice I pronounced all of these words with an it ending. That A took on a schwa sound. All of the words here were adjectives or nouns. Before we talk about that though, let's look for some prefixes because there are lots of great ones here this week. So we have calm, which means with. If you are compassionate, think of passion as feelings, right? You are sharing feelings with someone else. You are showing them kindness and understanding because you are thinking about their feelings. So calm means with, but that's an assimilated prefix. It takes on different forms. Sometimes it shows up as co. Think about a co-worker, someone you work with. And coordinates. Those are, if you're thinking about a graph and you're thinking about the x coordinate and the y coordinates, you have to put them together to locate a spot on the graph. So coordinate also means with, okay? And so think of a coordinate as a point on a graph. Okay, so calm and co both mean with. Then we have a lot of ways to say not. In means not, or it can mean not, but it assimilates. So if we put it in front of the word literate, it changes to ill. So if somebody's literate, they can read. If they're illiterate, they cannot read. right? Some people are illiterate because they never had a chance to go to school. Im is another way to change the in prefix. So immaculate means not. If you look at your Latin roots, you'll see that mac has something to do with spots or stains. So if something's immaculate, like maybe you know someone who's really good at cleaning and their house is just immaculate, it means that there's not a spot, not a speck of dirt anywhere. It's just immaculate. Here's in again, also means not. So if something's animate, it's alive. It kind of looks like animal, right? If something's inanimate, it's not alive. And it's never been alive. Think of a rock or a pebble, right? That's an inanimate object. That's hard to say. An inanimate object. If something's inappropriate, it's not appropriate, right? Using swear words at school, that's inappropriate. Inter is a prefix that means between. So if you think about the intermediate grades, we've got elementary, we've got high school, and then in the middle, those are your intermediate grades, your 4th graders, your 5th graders, your 6th graders. Okay, so inter can mean between. And then in this case, in doesn't always mean not, right? Sometimes it means in. So if you're thinking about something that has an intricate design, like maybe a blouse or a drawing, if something's intricate, it's very detailed. So there's a lot to look at inside there. And then this is probably one of the first prefixes you learned. Un in an adjective means not. So if someone is fortunate, they're lucky. But if they are unfortunate, they are not lucky. Okay? So over here, let's say purple box equals prefix. And let's just pay attention to the meanings of those prefixes as we go through our words. Okay, so I told you that sometimes we can change a noun to an adjective by adding the et ending. So we see that here. Here's the word affection. Okay? Affection is love and warmth. It's good feelings, right? You show affection to your mom. You show affection to your dad or your puppy or your baby brother, right? So if you show affection and love, you are being affectionate, right? You're giving hugs and kisses and smiles and all of that. If you show people compassion, kindness, and understanding, then you are being compassionate, right? I feel like there was another example here. I don't know. I guess here, if someone has fortune, good fortune, they have luck. So if someone is so if they have fortune, they're fortunate, right? Notice we drop that E before we add our vowel suffix. So if you wouldn't say someone has unfortune, but you would say that someone's unfortunate. So they're lacking good fortune or they're without good fortune. Okay, so over here, orange box, we changed a noun to an adjective by adding ate, okay? Now, I told you that only works some of the time. So adequate means good enough. Okay, if you get adequate grades, you're going to pass, but you're not going to get straight A's. So adequate is an adjective, but there's no easy to spot root hiding in there. Approximate means roughly or about. So you could say, I know you can't tell me how many people are coming to the party, but can you give me an approximate number? Give me like a rough estimate. So that's also an adjective. If somebody's articulate, they're well spoken. Our president, our leaders, our principals, they need to be articulate. Anyone who's giving speeches or talking to large groups of people, they have to be well spoken. So that's another adjective. Desolate. We use this word to describe a place that is empty and lonely. Like sometimes I see pictures of the desert and there are, places where there's no plants growing, no animals, no houses, and it looks desolate to me. It just looks kind of empty and abandoned and a little bit lonely. Duplicate has to do with more than one. So here you can have this sheet. It's a duplicate paper. It's a duplicate copy. I don't need it. So think of a duplicate as actually, I'm going to say it can be used as a noun too, but we'll leave it like that. We talked about illiterate, immaculate. So all these are adjectives: inanimate, inappropriate, intermediate, intricate, legitimate. Okay. If something's legitimate, it's legit, it's real, it can be trusted. So sometimes you get emails, you get phone calls, you get messages, and they like seem a little fishy, and you're like, wait, is this legitimate? Is this really my credit card calling, or is it somebody trying to scam me? So you always need to make sure before you give out personal information that you're talking to a legitimate source, a real source. Okay. Moderate means in the middle, right? So if I tell you that I eat a moderate amount of vegetables each day, it means I don't have 10 vegetables and I don't have 0 vegetables. I have somewhere in the middle, okay? So moderate means in the middle. So all of these words that I underlined, adequate, approximate, articulate, desolate, duplicate, illiterate, immaculate, inanimate, inappropriate, intermediate, intricate, legitimate, moderate, and unfortunate. All of these are adjectives. But then we have some nouns hiding in here as well. So if you think about an advocate, that's a noun. That's a person who helps you. Sometimes people get in trouble with the law and they don't really know their rights, and they don't know how the court system works, so they get an advocate, somebody who helps them. Sometimes in high schools they have peer advocate programs where kids can help each other and give each other advice. So that would be an advocate. An associate, that's a noun. That would be like a coworker, right? Somebody that does work with you. A coordinate is a point on a graph, so that can be a noun. A duplicate can also be a noun, right? A vertebrate, that's an animal that has a backbone. There's a picture right here of a horse. We know that a horse is a vertebrate because he has a backbone. All mammals, fish, birds, reptiles, and amphibians are vertebrate. So, animal with a backbone. Okay? So, all of these words that I just underlined are nouns. Okay? Now, remember I said some of our words can be pronounced 2 different ways. We can turn them into a verb by changing how we pronounce that ATE. So, an advocate is a person who helps you. Their job is to advocate for you. Make that A long. If you advocate for someone, you use your voice to defend them. Okay? An approximate amount is a rough amount, right? But you can approximate. That's another word for estimate, right? You can approximate. If somebody's articulate, they are well spoken, they know how to articulate their words, how to speak clearly, right? So people can understand them. Right now I am trying to articulate each syllable. An associate is someone you associate with at work, right? Your associate is someone you associate with. A coordinate is a point on a graph, right? But you can also coordinate, you can match with, there's that with again, with someone else. So you and your friend can coordinate on twin day, you can wear the same clothes. Or when you're picking out an outfit, you can coordinate, make sure your shirt matches your pants. Duplicate can also be used as a verb. When you make copies of something, you are duplicating them. Moderate can also be used as a verb, right? If something's moderate and it's in the middle. So if a person, let's say there's a debate for the national election, you need a moderator, somebody sitting in the middle who can moderate, who can say, okay, now you talk, now you talk, let's take turns. And I think that's it. So all of these words, anything that I underlined with green, can be used as a verb, but we have to change the pronunciation, okay? We have to make that ATE long. Instead of saying ut, it becomes ate. All right, one last thing I want to talk to you about. We do have a new Latin root, and it is on page 128, and it is the root plic and ply. Lots of words in our language have plic and ply. Think of complicated, multiplication, replicate, duplicate, right? And then think of words like apply, comply, reply, apply. So anytime you see words like that, they have something to do with folding, laying, or bending. So, for instance, right here, we have duplicate, and there's our plic right there. So, if you think about a piece of paper, you fold it in half, you have two equal parts, right? You have duplicated, whatever's on this side is now on this side, right? So duplicates are like two halves of the same thing. Just picture something folded. That's where that comes from. I thought there was another word here, but I guess not. But on your list, you're going to have words like application, apply, complicate, and you're going to have to read through the definitions. And I know some of these are a stretch, because keep in mind, these are old Latin roots, and the meanings of words have changed over time. But use what you know about prefixes and suffixes and parts of speech to match each of these plic and ply words with their definition. All right? I think we're done here. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.